Sussan Ley, first woman to lead the Federal Liberal Party. It's a historic moment. It's a big job ahead and possibly a poison chalice here.
Yeah, look, it could be. And, you know, when you're on the back of a thumping Labor landslide and you're attempting to rebuild, I think you need a leader that's going to listen before they put forward too many bold ideas. And I think Sussan Ley is a signal from the party that they want to go a more progressive line back towards the centre.
So we have Ted O'Brien in the deputy position. What do we know of the direction now? I mean, the coalition is going to have a disgruntled Conservative right with both the Liberals and the Nationals, as we saw yesterday.
Yeah, look, it's Ted O'Brien was the champion for nuclear power. So he really rose through the ranks. He was an MP that went up against Clive Palmer and took that seat up at Fairfax, back off the Independent, with the slogan, "It's time for Ted." Well, it really is time for Ted now. And it's time for him really to work with Sussan Ley and bring the Liberal Party back towards that position that they occupied under Menzies, under Fraser, which is more towards the centre conservative path of Australian politics. That's not going to be easy with a win that wasn't decisive for Ley. So, just pulling ahead by 4 votes isn't enough to kind of hose down that disquiet among the right.
And we touched on it there with Perrin Davey, but given the Nationals may push for a bigger say in the coalition moving forward, and David Littleproud, the Nationals leader, coy on the question of whether the Nationals would still support net zero by 2050, could that reignite those climate wars?
It could. I think one of the reasons why the coalition during the last term was so successful in the polls, they crashed, of course, at the campaign point, but they were successful because they had discipline, and that was effectively because they neutralised the energy and climate issue on the back of nuclear. They'll need to find a path that gets them that middle ground, and the Nationals aren't in a mood to give ground, I think, in that regard. And I think certainly the fact that Littleproud's in place, along with Kevin Hogan, again, it's more of a moderate voice, but it won't quell the disquiet among those ranks of Nationals and some right-leaning Liberals who are still signed up for nuclear and are still perhaps not on board with climate science. And I think that's going to be a challenge. How do we neutralise that issue, and how does Sussan Ley assert her leadership?
And your thoughts on this talk of a coalition split?
Oh, they do it every time, Gemma. So after the kind of big, a big loss like that, there's a lot of introspection, a lot of threats and a lot of argy-bargy around the issue of the coalition. They desperately need each other. Bridget McKenzie said yesterday that the Nationals bring strength and stability. Well, they do, because they've drained the pool of Liberals. And in fact, the Nationals held the line with the exception of Andrew Gee and Claire, who went independent. So no one's in the mood for a breakup with that kind of lack of numbers.